Welcome to the Fortified Project. I'm Tamas Finta. Today my guest is Martin McKenzie. Martin is a Chinese medicine practitioner. He does indoor skydiving and he also trains at Queensland kettlebells with our friend Piers Kwan, using Russian kettlebells and bodyweight strength. But this weekend, Martin, what a weekend. Just tell us what happened to you this weekend.
In the last, say, 30 hours, I've had 3 ice baths, been taken through the Wim Hof breathing method, and you and I just flew in a wind tunnel just over there. So yeah, it's been a hell of a weekend.
Okay.
It's been, yeah, unbelievable. I didn't think that the Wim Hof stuff would have this kind of effect.
Okay, how do you feel? Tell us a bit more about it. What happened?
You get taken through particular breathing techniques, breathing retention, squeezing techniques to try and force blood.
Yep.
You know all about that as well. You've been there.
Yep, we have done it.
And you've had Eden on your podcast as well. So, and then you go throw yourself into an ice bath as many times as you want.
Right. And the ice bath is fun. Yeah.
It is. It's an exhilarating experience. It's really challenging to put into words, but it's also difficult to try and articulate how you feel afterwards. So we were trying to work that out before, and like I feel relaxed, calm, but energized. And it's a little similar to like a deeply relaxing acupuncture session, but it actually feels deeper than that. It's bizarre. It's really weird. But it's extremely potent.
Yep.
Yeah, it's been, I think it's going to take a while for my head to kind of process and unlock a few things.
Fair enough.
I've been through 2 different environments this weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's been great.
And what we just did, indoor skydiving, how did that start? Or why did you decide to take up indoor skydiving?
Indoor skydiving came out of skydiving. So the tunnel is kind of like it's your best tool. If you want to get better at flying, if you're jumping out of airplanes, you go train in one of these things. But for me, it kind of took over. So it just became something else that I like to do to basically get better control over my body or get better acquainted with my body. And it ends up becoming a mind game as well. So there's kind of like this interesting association between training kettlebells, doing the Wim Hof stuff, and flying in tunnels.
Okay.
So part of it's body, part of it's mental. So those things, that's been really interesting.
My thoughts about what happened in there, my flight and our flight. I was a complete beginner to these things. I've done I think 4 minutes in total. Now, did I feel totally and utterly useless in there? Yes, I did. The things the instructor.
I still feel useless.
Well, the thing is that just like with any training program, the instructor gave me very basic things like how to hold my hand, even the fingers, how much the fingers spread, how I have to hold my head. So those are the fundamentals when someone wants to get into flying in the tunnel, right?
Yep.
So those tricks you did and the other guys on there, which were incredible, you will never get to that level unless you master these very simple basic things.
Yeah.
There's a layer upon layer upon layer approach. Is that right?
Yep. Everything builds into everything else. But the tunnel's a weird environment because it's completely counterintuitive. So the inputs that you would normally do to walk around this space just don't apply in there.
Right.
So if you want to go forward, you lean back. If you want to go up, you get bigger. If you want to go down, you get smaller. It's this unusual learning process. And I've spent a fair bit of time in there, but I'm still learning every time I go in. And it's fun and it's still scary for me. Like I got into skydiving partly to get rid of my fear of heights, which I never got out of. The flying, I think, came out of me having flying dreams when I was a kid as well. Mm-hmm. But it's just turned into something that's fun. So it's a good test. It's a heap of fun. And also one of the things that I brought from the tunnel through to everything else is try and have fun whilst you're learning. It just makes the process a lot easier.
So is training better when it's sort of fun, not this
Yeah.
like I need to go in, I need to put on my beast mode or whatever this T-shirt these days. You know, is it about that, or is it something that makes you feel really good when you do it?
Well, there's a thing in Chinese medicine, as soon as you stress, things tend to get blocked.
Yep.
There was a particular session I had with a coach over in the States, and he just stood at the door, like looking at me, just shaking his head, and afterwards he went, "Go get a beer, get 2 beers, let's go have a chat." We sat down and he went, "Dude, you were having zero fun in there. None. This should be a fun process."
Right.
So I took that away, thought about it, came back, had a different attitude, and things just progressed a lot quicker because of it. So I take what I do seriously, whether it's in there or if I'm practicing or I'm teaching, but I try and have fun while I'm doing it. So that was another key thing for me as well.
Right.
So yeah, and it's hard to relax when you're working against wind.
Yeah, very hard.
And it's just this bizarre environment. But if you can get past that, learn to relax and get better control of your body, you're going to have more fun as you go do it.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah. There was a big grin on your face.
It was, wasn't it?
That was great. It was awesome.
Had a ball. So Martin, please tell us about how you started with strength training and what motivated you mostly to get into it, and how did you go about it?
I got lucky quickly because I was introduced to you through one of your former students, Paul Tozer. I had started doing some fitness training with another PT, but then I moved away from where they were located, and then I rang you, and that's kind of how it started. And that changed everything yet again, because the other PT was probably a little more, I guess, a little less technical and a little less specific about what the focus of the training was for, which was something that you brought up, like first session, right? What do you want out of this?
Okay. How do the strength training and the indoor skydiving relate? Why you think it was helpful to train?
For the kind of flying that I want to get better at, the wind speeds have to be really high. So they can be cranked up to maybe 200 kilometers an hour.
Right.
So if I'm trying to fly in a sit, it's a little less, the wind speed is a little less high. But if I want to be able to fly in my head and then orientate my body in any particular direction that I want. So for that, I just need better muscle control.
Okay.
And that's one of the reasons why I came to you. I mean, the other reason I came to you was because I'd been a pretty academic, kind of thinky person, just lost in my own head. And we kind of realized really quickly that I didn't know how to use my body well. You remember the first time you got me to do the squats with my toes against the wall, and I just fell over.
Yep.
Like 6 times in a row.
Yep.
Screaming.
That was mean.
No, it was beautifully done to illustrate that I didn't understand how to do particular things.
Right.
So that kind of got me interested. I mean, I've studied massage and Chinese medicine and done that for nearly 20 years. I didn't necessarily understand as much of my own body as I thought I did. So that was a large part of it. So to get better control over this vehicle that I've got for the rest of my life and learn how to move better and be stronger and just do the things I want to do. But there's a ton of other things that get brought along with that. So mental health is one of them. Mm-hmm. So I'm of Celtic origin, so I'm prone to a condition called pyroluria, which means that I can be fairly anxious as a baseline state.
Right.
It's just a protein in my blood that takes up. It blocks the uptake of zinc, B6 and magnesium, which when your body's stressed, it demands more of. Mm-hmm. And then if my body's doing that, then I don't react well to stress, and I can't handle those sorts of things as well as I could. So doing the strength training certainly helps with all of those sorts of things. It helps keep this healthy as well.
Sure.
And then I can't remember when it was, but you pointed out, I'm not training you for the muscle stuff, I'm retraining your nervous system. And something clicked in my head. I went, oh, right, now that's completely different. Like all of that's completely different.
Right.
It's not about building muscles and looking better, that's a byproduct. But if you can train your nervous system to operate more efficiently and effectively and increase the load that can have, then you should just function better as a person.
Yep.
So that was a huge shift. So I never really wanted to get into the strength training to build muscle to look better. But if you can get me to think about it slightly differently, then that's just a massive benefit. And that happened. And I just got stronger and felt better for it. So thank you.
You're more than welcome. And now I just want to talk about a little bit what you do during the week when you're not flying in the tunnel, and how you help people.
I practice and teach Chinese medicine, so I work out of a clinic in Taringa, Physio 1. I'm primarily an acupuncturist and massage therapist. That's one branch of what I do, and the other branch is that I'm fortunate enough to be able to teach Chinese massage. So that takes up my week. Unfortunately, I don't get to the tunnel as often as I'd like.
Yeah, well.
Plus, it's a little expensive, but you know, you've got to be able to do those things to treat yourself every now and then.
Okay. And as a practitioner, since 45 is for men over 40 primarily,
Yep.
not that I would exclude anybody, but it is primarily for men over 40. You obviously see these guys with pain and discomfort. They come to you with some sort of an injury or an issue in the body.
Yep.
What are the most common issues you find?
Backs and necks.
Backs and necks, yeah.
That's a large part of it. I think largely contributed by our sedentary lifestyle these days.
Mm-hmm.
So we're spending too much time sitting down. We're not really designed to do that. We're designed to move. So that's primarily a lot of what I see, but that's also compounded with stress.
Mm-hmm.
So stress tends to affect how muscles act and react, and that limits how we perform. So I treat a lot of physical stuff, but quite often there's a stress component to the condition that person carries.
So what you're saying is mental stress or general stress in life can also be a contributing factor
Massively.
to physical pain.
Massively, yep. If you're stressed, your ability to digest can drop by anywhere up to 1/3. You're pumping out cortisol levels beyond what it should be. That's going to increase inflammation through the body. Your gut barrier lining's going to start to become leaky. It's just a cascading, really nasty situation. So stress is a huge component to what affects a lot of people.
Right. And what about your own body? Like, you understand the human body really well. You have studied physiology and anatomy. Doesn't mean we are immune to getting injured every now and then. Has there been any significant injury that sort of put a stop to certain things you wanted to do in life?
I had a bulged disc in my early 20s. It was
Right.
probably about 23, 24. That was the first one.
Mm-hmm.
I did it again in my mid-30s.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had 2 bulged discs, carpal tunnel, this wrist at least once, and a few other niggly injuries, but nothing too much lately, which has been good. Nothing that's kept me from training or doing what I want to do.
So would you say that since you've started physical training, exercise, these issues sort of stayed away?
The back
so to
pain,
say?
definitely.
Yep.
Yeah, there was a time there when I thought I was indestructible with my wrists because I used these a lot.
Of course.
And I kind of pushed it too far and I aggravated something.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't stop me from working, it didn't stop me from training, I just had to modify what I did.
Right.
And that was one of the nice things. Piers is excellent for that. So he was like, if you can't do this, we do that instead.
Or find a find an alternative.
Yeah.
Don't stop moving. Just yep.
No, and never push through it.
Yep, never push.
Like,
Yeah,
that's
a good advice.
That's just a dumb thing to go and do. So train so you can always
I
train.
agree. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I was a 40+ guy, like a friend of yours who haven't actually done much exercise in the last 20 years, 15 years, say, hey Martin, you know, you know a fair bit about the human body, and you've been actively exercising in the past. When did we start? 7, 8 years ago, I guess. Do you have an advice for me? So how can I avoid getting injured? What are the pitfalls?
Find a good trainer,
Okay.
but also find something that I guess resonates with what it is you want to do. For some people, they might prefer to go do Pilates. Other personality types might be better suited to yoga. I never thought I would come and do kettlebells or do anything associated with weights. I never ever thought that would ever happen.
Right.
But it just works for me.
Okay.
On so many levels. So it's maybe trying to find different things. So I tried yoga. I had to try a few different styles of yoga before I found one I liked. And for a while that was great. But I think at least at this point in my life, the strength training is a lot better for me.
Okay.
It's super important. Like if I don't get to training 3 times a week, things just don't run right. I don't feel good. And now I think I'm going to have to do an ice bath every now and then as well.
Of course.
So yeah.
Recharge.
Yeah, it's a recharge and a reset.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a very bizarre thing, but in a completely good way.
Another thing I found that so starting is not always the most difficult thing about it. It's staying with it, being consistent. How are you managing to stay consistent? Because you know you have your work, you lecture, you have your hobby, you have friends and family. So how are you managing the consistency, which is in my mind one of the key components to successful fitness regimen?
Try and build a habit.
Yep.
And just stick to it.
So what is your strategy? Do you have days and times set that trying to get to that training session no matter what?
That's my preference, but my timetable tends to change on my teaching availability. So like I'm just heading into a new semester next week. I'm going to have to work out exactly the times that I should be training.
Right.
And just stick to it. And if, life happens, so things need to be variable. So if there's something that crops up and I can't make that particular training session, then I'll work around that and fit something else in. The consistency is kind of key as well. And like when I was training with you, we got into a really good habit, like it was 3 times a week.
Right.
And from just building on that consistency, you just get good results.
Martin, I know you have also been working on a book.
Yep.
Please tell us about your book.
I'm co-author of a book on Chinese medical massage, which is called Tweener. The title is Tweener, an integrative approach. So we don't want to do something that's two Westerners trying to talk Chinese.
Right.
So we're going to do 2 Westerners that understand an aspect of Chinese medicine that we both really love, and write a book about it for Westerners to hopefully better understand it, and also for people that are more interested or curious about it to pick it up and hopefully get intrigued about what it can treat and what it can help. So it's a branch of Chinese medicine that isn't very well understood isn't very well known in the West. Probably predates acupuncture.
Wow.
So you can think about it as acupuncture without needles. Instead you use your hands. There's various different techniques that provide stimulus to the body to bring about a particular outcome. I think that's the easiest way I can put it. So unlike Western styles of massage, which are generally for bad backs, bad necks, you can use this to treat you can use this to help address the signs and symptoms of medical conditions. And the Chinese crunched the numbers over 4,000 years. So for this particular condition, this is a really good template to work with to get a particular outcome. So you can treat the signs and symptoms of migraine headaches, irritable bowel syndrome, gynecological disorders, pretty much you name it, it'll have a treatment for it somewhere. So yeah, it's been a massive work in progress over about the last 10 years. We've been pushing pretty hard over the last couple of years to get this done. Otherwise, both of us would probably just let it drag on a lot. And again, it's a bit like the training. It requires consistency. You'd understand that writing your own book and doing this project.
Yep.
If you don't plug away at it,
Yep. And there's
just
always
like
setbacks.
there's a ton of setbacks.
Yeah.
Life happens left, right, and centre. So
You just have to move on, move
Yep.
forward.
Yep.
Yep.
And try and pick up where you left off and just keep plugging away and pressing on. So hopefully it'll be out by the end of the year. We're really looking forward to having it done.
Great. Can't wait to see it. Thank you, Martin.
Man, that's an absolute pleasure.
Much appreciated. Thank you for the flight.
Are
It
you
was
kidding?
amazing.
Thank you. That was so much fun.
And you guys, we will be back with more interesting 40 plus men and more other interesting stories. So stay tuned. See you next time.